We have two more sections to cover in Chapter 4, in the Chapter 4 slides. Section 4.7 covers the mitochondria and the chloroplast, which are the energy-related organelles. Now, mitochondria are found in all eukaryotic cells, but chloroplasts are only found in eukaryotic cells that we find in autotrophs, which are organisms that make their own food through photosynthesis. So the first energy-related organelle is the chloroplast. It appears green due to the presence of the pigment chlorophyll, which is the green photosynthetic pigment that absorbs sunlight energy. This is just an illustration of the energy-producing organelles or energy-related organelles, chloroplast and mitochondria, and how they're connected. The chloroplast absorbs sunlight energy and produces food in the form of a carbohydrate, such as glucose. Glucose is the most common product of the chloroplast. So the glucose is broken down by the mitochondrion, and even though chloroplasts are only found in cells that carry out photosynthesis, mitochondria are found in all types of cells. Plant cells, animal cells, fungal cells. Mitochondria are found in all types of eukaryotic cells, because even if the organism makes its own food, it still has to break that carbohydrate down and produce ATP with it. So chloroplasts carry out photosynthesis, mitochondria carry out cellular respiration. So for the mitochondria, again, those are found in nearly all eukaryotic cells, and all plant, algae, and animal cells contain mitochondria. Only plant cells and algae contain chloroplast. So mitochondria contain ribosomes, and also they have their own DNA called mitochondrial DNA. In humans, that mitochondrial DNA is special because it is only inherited through the mother's genetic line. Mitochondria carry out cellular respiration. The oxygen that is produced through photosynthesis is used by the mitochondria, and then the mitochondria give off carbon dioxide, which is then used by the chloroplast in photosynthesis. So the mitochondria use oxygen as a reactant and then produce carbon dioxide as a product. Mitochondria produce most of the ATP utilized by eukaryotic cells. Then we have the cytoskeleton, and you'll need to focus on three different filaments, three different protein fibers or filaments that compose the cytoskeleton. They're called actin, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. Actin filaments are very thin, so sometimes we call them thin filaments, but it's actin, intermediate filaments, and microtubules. And you can see an illustration of actin. Actin kind of looks like two strands of pearls that have been twisted together. And then you can see intermediate filaments here, and the microtubules are thicker and composed of a protein called tubulin. So for actin, you need to know that the actin filaments are the thin filaments. They're the thinnest of the three components of the cytoskeleton. Actin forms a dense web just under the plasma membrane and helps to maintain the cell shape. Actin also functions in intracellular traffic control for moving stuff around within the cell. And actin is an important component in muscle contraction. It attaches myosin filaments attached to the actin, and then there is a contraction. So here you see a picture of that. The myosin filaments are red, and you can see them attaching to actin at various points, And what they'll do is they'll pull on that actin and cause a muscle contraction. Now, for intermediate filaments, your junctions that connect cells to each other are composed of intermediate filaments. Keratin is an intermediate filament that provides strength to skin cells. Then we have microtubules, which interact with motor molecules to cause the movement of organelles. And microtubules also form the spindle apparatus during cell division that help to move the chromosomes around and separate the chromosomes so that half will go to each new cell that is formed in cell division. Centrioles are composed of microtubules. They're only found in animal cells. There's one pair of centrioles per animal cell. They're located in a structure called the centrosome. Now, the centrosome is the microtubule organizing center, and plant cells have a centrosome just like animal cells do, but only animal cells have centrioles within the centrosome. So these are what centrioles look like, and they're composed of a triplet of microtubules, and there'll be 9 of these triplets, and then they form kind of this structure, like a barrel-shaped structure, and they line up at right angles to each other, and you've got one pair per animal cell. Cilia and flagella are structures that help in movement. Cilia are little hairs that move in coordinated waves like oars. They line the upper respiratory tract and sweep mucus that has trapped pathogens and debris that we don't want getting into our deep into our lungs and causing infection. So it sweeps all that stuff up and out of our respiratory tract. Flagella are more like a tail, like for example, the flagella that move sperm. So they're both composed of microtubules. And anyway, let's go back and just review. So the 3 components of the cytoskeleton are actin, intermediate filaments, microtubules. Microtubules you're going to find in centrioles, in cilia, in flagella. They're also going to help organelles to move throughout the cell. Intermediate filaments form cell junctions that connect cells to other cells. And actin filaments are thin and they function in muscle contraction. They also help support the plasma membrane and give the cell its shape. And that's going to be it for our Chapter 4 notes.